you really want to make it to the top in your sport, if you really want to achieve excellence, then you need to know what's going inside this 2-pound piece of flesh here. You need to know what's going inside your brain. You need to understand it more. And as the world is waking up to this, mental health, mental performance is becoming more and more important. And this is the reasons why I do want to do it. And these are the reasons why I'm dedicating these particular videos to help educate you more about the brain, more about these neurological structures, the millions and millions of neurological structures which are going on inside this brain, because every single thought that you have is affecting you physically and physiologically in your body. So every single thought that you're having out on the court, on the pitch, in the pool, on the track, is affecting your body physiologically. So you need to get control over the things that you're thinking and how you're feeling. Because how you think affects how you feel, and how you feel affects how you think. I want to talk about 3 specific regions of the brain. We've got the Pre-Frontal Cortex. This is the crowning glory of human evolution. The regions of the brain which give rise to consciousness, to analysis, to thought, to wonder. The second region of the brain we're going to spend some time talking about is the limbic system. And this is comprised of many other smaller regions, but we're going to look at it as a whole today. The limbic system is involved with memory and emotion. It stores many of your, if not all of your long-term memories. So all of your past performances are stored there. When you now remember back to your best ever performances, one of the things you're really remembering is how it felt, the feeling of how it felt being back in that moment, and what it looked like, and what it sounded like. The third region of the brain we're going to look at is the cerebellum. The cerebellum is that region at the back of the brain which controls all your motor movements. All of your motor movements that you have built up throughout your lifetime are stored in the back of your brain. Obviously the most common motor program that you'll have is walking. Those actions are stored in the back of your brain. So with that also becomes the advancement of walking, sprinting, performing skills. All of your techniques that you have learned for your sport are stored in this region of the brain here. So to go back to the first part of the brain that I'd like to talk about today, we're looking at the prefrontal cortex. We're looking at this region here. This is what allows us to be what is human. Our ability to imagine comes from this region. Our ability to analyze, to think and to question and to wonder. And the great thing about the prefrontal cortex is that it allows us to take control over our future and rewrite it. Because the brain doesn't know the difference between what is imagined and what is real. So when you imagine something going wrong, when you imagine missing that penalty in that penalty shootout, when you imagine yourself underperforming and not quite getting your personal best in some race, you're actually beginning to wire that memory ahead of time, and you're doing yourself a massive disservice. You want to use the prefrontal cortex to help you break unwanted patterns. So if you start to feel negative in some way, if you start to feel disempowering in some way, then one of the ways that you can help break those toxic patterns is to question them. Is this really real, what I'm thinking? What if the thought that I've just had isn't really the truth, and it's only partly the truth? What if I could snap myself out of this and start thinking something different right now? So you can take control over your inner neurology, your inner mind. And and win the inner game by questioning yourself more, question your thoughts. Most people are just recycling the same habitual thoughts day in, day out, thinking the same things over and over and over again. And the more you think a thought, the more you ingrain it in your mind. And the more you ingrain it, the more you'll think it. And you will have these patterns of thinking when you're playing. When things go right, you might think very little. Or you might feel more joyous, and you might feel happier. You might be saying to yourself how much you're enjoying it. But have you ever underperformed? And I'm guessing that when you do, or when you have, you think in a different way. You're imagining certain things. Perhaps you're imagining something going wrong ahead of time, subconsciously. Often these things, especially visual images, are often deeper below your consciousness. So the prefrontal cortex allows us to imagine. It can imagine the worst case scenario, and it can imagine the best case scenario. And you want to make the best case scenario bigger, brighter, richer, bolder, and more colourful. You want your brain to gravitate towards beauty, towards amazing looking, colourful, powerful pictures. See yourself enjoying yourself with everything going right, your performance going perfectly, knowing that you can still make mistakes. The power of the prefrontal cortex is what enables us to take control over our destiny. It allows you to take control over your performance, and you can do it ahead of time. You can do it before you go into bed, you can do it when you're waking up in the morning, you can do it by just spending 10-15 minutes. Many of my athletes are using these neuroscience techniques for 20-25 minutes, reprogramming their mind and their neurology ahead of time. The prefrontal cortex is our most powerful gift in many respects. Many people don't take advantage of this. All of the creatures on the planet do not have what we have in terms of the prefrontal cortex. Nowhere near the depth and density of the same region. When you go and look at monkeys, they have a prefrontal cortex. They have this cortex that surrounds the grey matter over the top of the brain. But for us, and especially for our size of body, that grey matter in us is a lot thicker and denser. There's way millions and millions of more neurons in the prefrontal cortex. So take advantage of this. Take advantage of this tool that you have. So now let's talk about the second region, the limbic region. The region deeper within the middle of the brain, deep within the subconscious mind. So the limbic system has the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, the amygdala. And in these regions is responsible for storing emotion. Your memories. Every single one of your memories has an emotional quotient. Every single one of your memories is like a holographic memory, a holographic movie of pictures and sounds and feelings stored within this region. All of your great performances are stored in this region, and all of your lesser performances, your underperformances, are stored in this region as well. And you want to access your best performances. You want to use your memory, delve inside your limbic system and reactivate the amygdala, reactivate the emotional centers of your brain. Remember your great performances, and they will be the ones where you was feeling joyful, blissful, which in many respects takes you out of the deeper limbic system. But remembering your best performances, remembering the emotions to them, they're stored in your long-term memories in the hippocampus. Without the hippocampus, and when they've done research or worked with people who've had brain damage in this region, people have been unable to make decisions, because every single one of your decisions that you're making is based on a familiar pattern from the past. Everything about who you are, who I am, who we are as humans is about the past. The past is predetermining your future. We look to the past to find out what to do in the future. What do I do now? Well, I did this last time and I've done it 112 times, so I'm going to do it again now. And when these people have had injuries in those areas, they have not had the access to the memory, to the feeling, to the emotional memory, to know what feels good, what feels bad, what feels right, and what feels wrong. This is essentially what is happening. When you're making decisions on the pitch, on the court, you're making them based on feelings. And attached to those feelings is images and sounds, tastes and smells as well. So you need to make sure that you are accessing this for the good. Because if you allow the freeze, fight or flight mechanisms to turn on, that amygdala will get ramped up and it will generate through your body, or right up through the vagus nerve from your stomach, from your gut and your microbiome, and it will fire it straight up into your brain and it will get you ready to go. It will send you into action. If you needed to take action to survive, to get away from danger or to fight danger, then that needs to light up your neurology like a firework. And when you get angry, when you get frustrated, that's because you're going back to the past, remembering similar things that have happened before, and it's creating this frustration, this anger. And when you are feeling angry and frustrated, you're moving your performance out of this prefrontal cortex and you're going deeper. You're going into the primitive centers. So let's talk about that third region. This part of the back of the mind, these two lobes at the back here, the cerebellum. All of your skills, all of your techniques, all the things that you've learned about your brain are stored at the back. As mentioned previously, simply how to walk, how to run, how to jump, how to throw, how to catch, all of the basics, how to perform a somersault, how to do an overhead kick, how to perform a tennis serve, a golf swing. All these things are stored here. And if you get into a state of anger, a state of frustration, when that limbic system kicks in, when that amygdala kicks in, then your performances, the connections between what you've learned in the past is going to get overridden. Because if you're really in a state of danger, the brain wants to do one of three things really. It's either going to freeze and not know what to do and try and play possum and hide. It's going to fight the danger, or it's going to flee. It's going to leg it, run away. So if you're playing netball, if you're playing a game of basketball, if you're playing a game of hockey, and the freeze, fight or flight mechanism turns on, the amygdala gets ramped up and the emotional charge starts firing up through your brain and your body, then it's in conflict. You're wanting to play sport, but your mind subconsciously is wanting to go fight or flight. And as a result of that, your performances then become very jerky. You have to start thinking about how to perform because you've got this other subconscious feeling going on of anger, resentment, frustration, doubt. Because the mind thinks there's something going on at a level of danger. So if you really truly were in danger, would it be right for you to be carrying on playing basketball if there's a fire on the court, or there's a guy that's stormed in onto the court and is being very physically aggressive and carrying some baseball bat or something? No, you're not, is the answer. You're not going to keep playing basketball. You're going to do something about that scenario. You're either going to run away or you're going to go fight that person and stop him doing what he's doing. So when that happens, when you get too emotional, the cerebellum and your skills, the movies that you have stored inside your mind of how you perform, what you perform, that movie becomes jerky. It stops being fluent because this emotion, there's this message kind of tapping on your brain saying stop that, stop that, stop that. You need to be doing this other thing over here instead. So being calm, being in a relaxed state of focus is what enables you to access all of your skills, all your techniques.